Hello, welcome everybody to Chuck's Conversation Bag Corner. And we're joined today by Tim Smith, JFK expert, and we're going to talk about some things about the assassination, the JFK assassination that Tim has been studying for many, many years, and also talk about a book that Tim has coming out in November of 2023.
Hopefully a little earlier, but not sure at this point. Okay. It'd be in the fall for sure.
In the fall of 2023. And so with that, we'll get right into it. Tim, why don't you tell us a little about yourself, your background, and why are you qualified to talk about the JFK assassination?
So when I went into it, I honestly didn't have an idea one way or the other. I was suspicious of the government because I'd seen the Zapruder film. I thought, okay, something isn't right here. But I had no idea who did it, and it really took a long time for me to reach the conclusion that I reached and that I try to argue in my book. But even that is not a big part of the book. It's where I think most of the fingerprints are located. So probably from 75 till about, when the movie came out, Oliver Stone's JFK, I was reading books. I really wasn't going to very many conferences, although in those days it was interesting. You'd get out a telephone book. Try that now. Very few people have landlines anymore. But you get out a telephone book, and I got a hold of a Texas telephone book for Dallas, and you could call the doctors up, and they would talk to you. Totally unheard of today. It's like, when did that world exist?
Right.
So I did a lot of that early on, jotted down a few notes, and then the Oliver Stone movie came out. And I think a lot of people got on the bandwagon after the Oliver Stone film, because the good thing about the movie JFK is if you watch it, it covers like everything. Okay, it's a really quick primer for
like
what's
buckshot.
It is.
Yeah.
And there's a little tagline at the end of the movie: the House Committee assassination reports will not be released to the general public till 2029. Like, why? If Oswald did it and he did it alone, what are you afraid of?
Right.
And as you know, there was a recent release, and everyone's saying, "Oh, that's good. The files were released." No, and read carefully. Some were released, yes. But you have to ask, what wasn't released? They released everything we need to know, and they held everything we need to know.
Yeah. You say that all the evidence we need is in front of us.
Absolutely.
You don't have to dig too deep.
Absolutely.
And so can you kind of give us some examples or when you came to that conclusion?
The book, real quickly, is people had analyzed the Warren Commission. Some people have, and even to the point they went through all 488 witnesses that were either testified before the commission or they were deposed in some fashion in Dallas. What I chose to do is look at the second investigation, the House Committee on Assassinations, which was 1978. And so the book is 52 chapters covering the 52 witnesses that testified before the House Committee on Assassination. But if that's all I do, I really haven't done a whole lot. That evidence has to be updated. If I stop there, then you know what the state of the evidence was in 1978. Well, a lot's happened. So what I try to do is I use them as a springboard to analyze what they said then, but then bring all the evidence up to date as late as 2022. So I think there are four things in the book, four pieces that are fairly recent and need to be discussed. One is the acoustical evidence, which a lot of people don't talk about it because it is tedious and it's complicated. The other three, one would be the Keith Fitzgerald, which he took the Zapruder film, brings it up close and personal, and you see things you don't see any other way. And I think his main contribution, which syncs perfectly with the acoustic evidence, is that Kennedy shot at 313. He's then shot again at 327, but you can't see it on the film because the cranial cavity has already exploded. It's not going to explode twice.
Yeah.
But something does happen. When you look at Kennedy's head wound at 327, which is 7/10, perfectly syncs with the acoustic evidence, and then you look at it at frame 335. And that wound in his head has almost doubled in size. Something happened. And I think the only obvious conclusion of that is, yes, something happened. He was shot at 327, which from the rear, not from the front. He'd already been shot from the front, right side. Now he's shot from the rear, and it just opens everything up. The two other ones would be a guy by the name of David Wimp. And this eliminates just what I would call nonsense. You can just put it in the trash can of evidence. For years, and I was part of that, everybody was, the idea that, Kennedy shot at 313, but if you look and you measure it, his head goes forward at 312 and then immediately goes back at 313. So I was always forced to say, wow, he was hit twice with an 18th of a second. No, he wasn't. And even Richard Feynman, Nobel laureate in physics. He measured it and says, yep, he moved forward at 312. The problem was not discovered until David Wimp in the early 2000s. He was a systems engineer of Eugene, Oregon, and what he discovered by looking at the Serputer film is that when you look at 313, which is crystal clear, 312 is blurry because something happened at 312. Serputer moved the camera.
It's the shutter, the rolling shutter, yeah.
And it caused a streak to appear. And if you look at 312, it's obvious when you compare 312 to 313.
So anybody can take a video camera or even their cell phone, and if you move it too fast, that image blurs.
Kennedy's or Connally's forehead is like that when normally it should be like that.
Right.
And so does he move at 312? No more than anybody else sitting upright in the backseat of a car, not doing anything, would move. So, but the lone assassin theory would have you believe that's crucial because, one, they have to have somebody shooting from behind, and if there's enough movement, you could maybe justify the shooting from behind at 312. But you eliminate that, and they still have to answer the question, well, if he shot from behind, then why does he go back? They say, well, because there's a neuromuscular reaction, or there's the jet effect. All that gets thrown away because once you eliminate him going forward at 312, that stuff doesn't matter.
Right.
So I would say those three, and then the last one, which is even probably more difficult than the acoustical evidence, is neutron activation analysis, which was absolutely...
Which sounds like something from Star Trek.
It does, it does. And what it is, basically, it's you look at the different metals that make up the composition of a bullet.
Okay.
And so what they were doing, Vincent Gwynn, who testified for the Warren Commission and for the House Committee on Assassinations, I think it's chapter 16 in the book, he argues that the metals used in the bullets fired from the Malachar Carcano are incredibly unique. So it'd be pretty easy since they're so unique. Then comes along Eric Grandage, who worked with Vincent Gwynn, and unlike Gwynn, he has his doctorate in metallurgy. This guy knows his stuff. He has no interest in the Kennedy assassination at all. He says, I'll take a look at it. And at the end of it, he says, he began to testify in court. He submitted papers. And at the end, it's just junk science. He said, there is no connection. The only thing you can tell, it'd be like if I said, here's a half gallon of milk and here's a gallon of milk, and then say to you, which cow did that come from? It's the same type of nonsense. You can't tell. So those four things together, and there's much more than that, those are just four quick ones, I think from a scientific standpoint, certainly justify the idea that there was conspiracy that day.
And how many people did you personally interview from the 78 investigation?
As many as I could. I don't know the exact number, but I did, and I actually met some face to face and talked with them. When I spoke in Duquesne in 2003, Gary Cornwell was there, and he was one of the chief people asking questions of the 52 witnesses. So he was kind of fun to talk to. I talked to a lot of those people. I talked to a lot of the 52 people that were actually. The problem nowadays, if I haven't done that, forget it. They're dead.
Right.
And so that's someone said, I'd like to study the Kennedy assassination. Who are you going to interview?
Right.
There's hardly anybody alive anymore. And so you're going to have to...
By one way or the other, there's hardly anybody alive anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's something that at times I'm almost embarrassed as to how much time it consumed me, even to this day. I mean, just a few weeks ago, I think it was right around the last time I gave a talk at the Niles Library, I'd run off like 700 pages of documents from the National Archives that day. And just when I think I'm going to get away from it, to quote Michael Corleone from Godfather 3, they pull me back in.
All right, Tim, I want to thank you so much for spending... I'm being told we have a caller, which is odd because this is not a call-in show.
That is
and
odd.
I don't know whose number they called. So we'll see if we can pipe it through
Disturbing.
the system here.
Right.
Hello, I guess you're on the air.
Hiya there, Chuck. Hey there, Chuck. Tim, how's it going? It's me, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, calling from the afterlife.
Wait a minute. This is JFK.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hold on just one moment. Teddy, for the love of God, put on some pants. I'm on the phone.
It sounds like JFK.
Yeah.
It's one of my more recent ass aches.
So we mentioned earlier that 1/3 of your brain was missing after the assassination. In the afterlife, do you get that 1/3 back, or are you like a ghost with the 1/3?
It's exactly how it was. All I remember was stifling a sneeze and then waking up here. So it's my head is basically 1963 head. It's great.
So did you
It's wonderful because no one knows this. It was a state secret, but my head never stopped growing.
Yeah.
If I hadn't died when I did, it would have been Macy's Day Parade.
Oh, okay. Do you think that was due to the drug cocktails that you regularly?
It's an Irish thing.
It's an Irish thing.
Oh.
Bobby got the good skull. He had the normally proportioned skull, and I got stuck with.
So did you think that the sneeze killed you when you woke in the afterlife?
I don't dwell on it that much. You know,
Yeah, sure. It's a long time ago. That's what it's coming up on 60 years.
That's a lot of things. I'm more concerned with my relationships here in the afterlife. I'm still trying to mend bridges with the Rat Pack.
Oh, so how are they
Sammy
doing?
won't talk to me.
Still.
Wow.
That's quite the
An
grudge.
attitude.
Yeah.
And I got the junior member. He looks older, but he's still a kid, brother. He won't stop walking around back there.
All right. Well, I guess thanks for calling in, JFK. It was unexpected.
Right.
Give everybody our best. Maybe next time we can have Bobby on the show.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, Bobby. Yeah, he's the one everybody likes down here.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think I had some help with the jackass.
All right. Well, thank you, JFK.
Hey, take that nose out of your finger. Finger out of your nose. Jesus Christ.
All right, and we're clear. All right. Well, Tim, as I was saying, thank you for
Sure.
joining us, and
Anytime.
I'm sure we'll have you back on here again,
Sounds
especially when that book comes out.
Yeah.
Again, Hidden in Plain Sight.
Hidden in Plain Sight.
By Tim Smith. Look for it sometime in the fall.
And the cover, of course.
And the cover, which I'm sure the book and the cover will be nominated for whatever awards books and covers are nominated for.
No question about it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a given.
So yeah, and now back to whatever else we were doing.